the Monday morning edition of Top Story. Certainly hope you're having a great morning. Thanks for stopping by. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about the United Way because I think so many of us have heard, obviously, about the organization and how big of an umbrella it has been for different organizations in the city. Joining us, the CEO, Gary Vipond, and Gary's going to talk to us a little bit this morning about some sort of changes in the approach of the United Way. First, Gary, good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you.
Oh, I
Thank you.
said I
I'm
wasn't
great.
going to touch you because
That's
he was
okay.
doing yard work and his shoulders are very sore.
I'm good.
How long has the United Way been in the Sioux?
Actually, we have been around since 1957.
My goodness. So we kind of know what works and what doesn't at this point.
Yes, we hope so.
Now, with regards to, there were 29 agencies that United Way was an umbrella for. Is that right?
At one point, yes, it got up as high as 29. It is less now. We now support 13 organizations other than ourselves. The focus about 3 years ago changed, and we now focus entirely on poverty reduction in Sault Ste. Marie and the District of Algoma. And we did that following a number of years of research. We had a research project that was funded by the Ontario Trillium Foundation, and we worked in conjunction with 3 other communities in the province. And we went around talking to people in the community. We called them kitchen table conversations. One of our directors, who was not on the board at the time, we hired him as a staff person, and he coordinated all of this work. So we talked to people, all ages, all walks of life. We held conversations at the soup kitchen. We held conversations at Sault College. We had held conversations at the YMCA, at the library, at the university. And we just wanted to talk to people and find out what they thought about our community, what they thought we needed to do in our community. And it was very interesting because people told us that they wanted good jobs. Most of the people that we talked to that weren't working wanted to work. They said, you know, there's good jobs available in Sault Ste. Marie, but we don't have the skills to apply for those jobs, and we need help with that. So we said, okay, there's a priority issue that we really need to focus on. Others said that they felt that their biggest challenge was safe, affordable housing. They wanted safe, affordable housing in Sault Ste. Marie. We run into situations where somebody gets a reasonable rent on their house, but the house isn't insulated, and so the utilities are very expensive for them. So the total cost to live in a particular home is what we look at. People also told us that they wanted to trust their community leaders. And of course, you trust your community leaders by telling them what you need and hoping that they're going to come good for that. And that was our commitment to them. We said, you know, we will report back to you on what we're doing on a regular basis, and we will start to change our focus so that we can address some of these issues. So it was really an important factor that we had a community poverty reduction plan together. So my board instructed me to pull some community players together and get working on a community-wide poverty reduction plan. Now, fortunately for me, Algoma Public Health was already working on some poverty work. We had Nordic that was doing some poverty work. So Jennifer Miller from Algoma Public Health, Dr. Gail Broad from Nordic, and myself, the 3 of us got together and we co-chaired a community-wide poverty roundtable, which is still in operation today. And we came up with a plan to reduce poverty in Sault Ste. Marie. We then presented this plan to City Council, and they endorsed it. So now we have a community plan that's been endorsed by City Council. The United Way then took that plan and said, okay, which parts of this are we going to do? So United Way focused on 2 areas initially. We said, okay, we want to help people get education. We want to help people get good employment. So we're going to focus on mainly reducing barriers that are stopping people from accessing employment and accessing education. So that was one area that we focused on. And another area we focused on was essential services. Essential services is meeting the immediate needs of people today. So it's nice that you're helping them to get educated so they can work down the road, but they need to eat, they need to live
Sure.
in the interim. So we wanted to make sure that they had the opportunity to access services that were available to them. We wanted to make sure that if they had immediate needs like rent was due or food was required, that we would help them. And when I say we, this is our family of services available. So we focused on essential services as well. And then as we started doing work, we saw a real need for food security. Food security was a priority that was identified in the Community Poverty Roundtable, but we felt that there was enough work going on in that area that we were going to let other groups focus on that. But it became evident that there was a need for an upstream warehouse that would collect food, increase the supply of food in the community to feed the soup kitchens and the food banks and the churches and all the organizations that are doing a great job dealing with feeding people. They spend a lot of their time worrying about where they're getting the food from. So we said, well, let's see if we can get everybody together and get this warehouse going so that we can have increased capacity of food. So we started, actually, we leased the old Croatian Hall on Second Line, and we took possession July 15 of this year. And we are looking at increasing the food supply through several sources. Number one, we're working with two volunteer organizations in town. One of them is Connect the Dots. It's an organization that is a food rescue organization. So they will go to the farmer's market at the end of the day and take any food that hasn't been sold and is going to be discarded.
Oh.
And they'll bring it to us and we'll process it because we have a commercial kitchen. So we can pickle, we can freeze,
Canning,
we
all
can
the good
can,
stuff.
we can do all of those things. So and we have staff that have the skills to do that. So there's food rescue. They will also pick up food if there's a banquet somewhere and there's a bunch of food left over. Now they have the ability to get that food and bring it to us and we'll preserve it. You may have seen going around town different posters for the Great Pumpkin Rescue.
Yes, I did.
And that is our food resource center where we're getting everybody to bring us their pumpkins that they normally would just throw in the garbage or throw in a gully somewhere and bring them to us. We work very closely with Algoma Public Health, so we know exactly how to deal with these pumpkins so that we can make use of them and people can eat them. We've been working with local farmers, area farmers. They're bringing us their surpluses. Some of them have planted additional crops knowing that there's a use for the food. So we're increasing the supply that way. And the other thing that we're doing is through the support of the Salvation Army locally, we are getting some truckloads of food brought up from
Really?
Southern Ontario. In September, we had 6,000 pounds of meat donated.
Oh, my word.
And we have a walk-in freezer, we have walk-in refrigerators, so we can receive these shipments. In the past, it was difficult for Sault Ste. Marie to say yes to a shipment like this because we didn't have the freezer capacity to store it. Salvation Army, Soup Kitchen, Vincent Place would, they'd fill their freezers and then there was all kinds of food left. So we brought in this truckload and Lock City Dairies worked with us to actually go and pick the food up and bring it. And then we had Salvation Army and Soup Kitchen and Vincent Place come and help us unload the truck. We filled our freezer, they filled their freezers. We're good for quite a while for meat.
So are you kind of like the hub and you supply like the Soup Kitchen?
That's the idea. Now the Soup Kitchen, Vincent Place and Salvation Army, they still have their own networks because they're well established in the community. But what we're hoping to do is to work as a team, all of us, so that we've got this warehouse where we can store food. So the Salvation Army, they're the ones that are getting us the truckloads of food through their network. And if there's a truckload available, they'll say yes to it now and direct it to us. And we have one pending, a full transport of canned goods and dry goods.
Oh, that's so phenomenal.
So we're increasing the supply through reducing waste, through increasing production of area farmers and through bringing in food donations from outside of the community. The other thing that we're doing, we're working with an organization called Fallen Fruit. And if you have apple trees and so you don't pick the apples, right? They fall on the ground, they rot. They're going and picking the apples before they fall on the ground. They bring them to us. We make applesauce. You know,
Terrific.
so
It sounds
yeah.
so progressive and so positive. Are you staffing the warehouse? There must be some
Yes.
people who are working there full
Yes,
time.
yes, we have 2 full-time staff right now, and we'll probably end up with 3 or 4 in the next 4 to 6 months. It's amazing because we've already, in the first couple of months of operation, we've already distributed, I'd say, about 14,000 pounds of food.
That's phenomenal.
You know, so
If somebody at home watching wants to help out, is there still a way for us to do that with the United Way?
absolutely, because we call our food resource center Harvest Algoma, and because Harvest Algoma is operated by United Way, anybody wanting to make a financial donation to this organization can do so through United Way by designating it to Food Security or Harvest Algoma. We'll make sure that the funds go directly to that component of our operation. The other thing is that if people have food that they'd like to drop off, they can certainly do so. I saw a note over the weekend, the Sioux Greyhounds collected a bunch of food and brought it to Harvest Algoma. So
That's awesome.
it's amazing how everybody's pulling together. And the bottom line is we're not distributing food to individuals, we're distributing food to organizations. So it's important that we have this network established and that the organizations that do a fabulous job dealing with individuals continue to do that. We're trying to take the pressure off of them as to how they get their food.
I can't think of a better name than the United Way, because you're uniting all these agencies and sort of helping as part of that huge hub. Thank you so much. Really appreciate this information. I think
you.
it's good to get an update from the United Way. Always good to see you too, Gare.
Thanks, Luann.
We'll take this break on Top Story. We'll be right back.